Today we're going to be ranking all of the Assassin's Creeds from worst to best.
We're basically just gonna focus on the main games, so like the ones that are just like side games or anything like that, we're not counting.
And I'm Jason.
And I'm Ethan.
Okay, number 12 for me. Give me Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
Yeah, 100% agree.
This game was set in the Industrial Revolution, and I thought that like it was going to be cool because of that, steampunk's Assassin's Creed, but it just wasn't very good.
No, it was actually terrible. I remember playing it, and I was not a fan of it at all. It
Mm-mm.
was not that good.
It really wasn't. I did like how you had like the story expansion of like Jack the Ripper. That's kind
Yeah,
of
that
cool.
that was pretty cool, but that's about it.
Yeah, the main game, and it should have been good. Like Steampunk, had like really cool trailers leading up to it. It was in London. But and also you had the two main characters, Jacob and Evie, which were like I'm pretty sure they were twins, right? They were twins or
Yes, it was also pretty cool that there were two of them. Like you switched back and forth, like that was pretty neat.
yeah, that was yeah.
It was unique. I mean, it probably could have been executed a little better, and so could the whole game. I
Yeah.
think that this came out right when they were trying to capitalize on all the money. Like they weren't even really like worried about making them good.
Right. And I think another unfortunate thing about this is that Assassin's Creed is always really good at like good themes and picking good aesthetics and places and ideas, but the execution is always the problem, really. The
Yeah.
gameplay is always the problem. But number 11, give me Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Yeah. Again, same.
This one was pretty hard for me to rank because I only played about an hour or two of this game before I was really unable to continue this game or like until I put it down. I and everything else I've seen is that it sucked. As it continued, it got very mixed and meddling reviews. I do like it being set in a Viking time period. I think that is really cool, and I do think that the RPG movement of Assassin's Creed is good because it really was getting stale as a franchise. But overall, this game did not keep me hooked, did not keep me engaged. And a Viking game sounds fucking amazing. A Viking Assassin's Creed sounds amazing, but this was not it.
Yeah. Again, we come back to the execution was just not there. It just wasn't good.
No.
And I mean, after taking, I think it was a couple-year break to make the game to try and make it better, they just didn't do what they could have. It just
Yeah.
was not really that good of a game. I didn't play much because I wasn't that invested in it. It
Yeah.
was not a good game.
It really was not a good game. Okay. Well, let's go with my number 10, top 10. I got Assassin's Creed Rogue. Um
Oh, really?
yeah, I do not have very fond ties with this game. I think the main reason why I think that Assassin's Creed, Ubisoft, I have a big problem with them releasing two Assassin's Creed games at the same time. I think that's dumb, idiotic, aggressive. It's very aggressive. I don't think anyone should release two like mainline games at the same time. When you do that, it's very hard to keep with both of them. And the unfortunate truth is that this was the PS3 and Xbox 360 game, whereas the other game that came out at the same time, Unity, was the new game, the flashy game,
Right, right.
and this game got no love. It might be like a cult classic, but for me, I was not able to. I couldn't get into it because I had this PS4 Assassin's Creed, which was so much more interesting, and this one just existed for
Okay.
me.
Well, see, that's where we're going to start to differ. For number 10, I put Odyssey.
Okay.
The idea of an Assassin's Creed being set in like, I guess I would say like the, I don't even remember the exact time frame, but I know it's like in the Greek era-ish, somewhere around that range with like the Spartans and all them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I can't think of what the era is called, but whatever it is. It should be cool. Honestly, I kind of think the whole creating your own character thing, like you could pick male or female and then kind of like set them up however you wanted, kind of really threw the whole game for a loop. I mean, it made it more like RPG-ish, but I don't think the story was executed well enough for it.
Hmm.
I mean, they could have done the story a lot better to include that, and I just kind of feel like it was full of like just the generic terms of like, oh, hey, character, how are you? You know,
Right.
instead of like actually like getting to dive deep into it.
Yeah.
So I that's why I didn't like it. And honestly, I kind of feel like the graphics might have been like a step backwards. I don't when I played, I really remember the graphics kind of being shitty. And I don't know if that was just me or what, but I honestly felt like that they were just a little bit of a downgrade compared to what they used to be before this.
Yeah. That's completely justifiable. My number 9 is Assassin's Creed, the original, um,
Okay.
2007's game. This game, it started it all off, but there were loads of issues with this game compared to the later ones that would follow, especially when you have Assassin's Creed 2 and 3 and Brotherhood coming out after it. This game
Hmm.
really looked very amateur hour compared to them. It is really cool. It sets up the whole story that would follow, and we meet the probably the most iconic main non-assassin character, Desmond Miles, in this game. And yeah, this game got like great, reception, and it started everything. Without this game, there would be nothing else. But I think that the next game afterwards, really brought Assassin's Creed to life. The Crusade was really cool to go through, but let's be honest, it's not what follows.
Right. Right. Um, for my number 9, I actually said Assassin's Creed Unity.
Hmm.
Um, like you said, when this game came out, it was like torn between next gen and last gen, which at the time was the PS4 and PS3. Um, I never really liked it. I didn't like the setting too much. It was cool with the 4-player co-op, like how people could come in and still explore the same world,
Hmm.
but I never really liked the game or like the area. But I think it was like set in like the French Revolution or something, and I don't know. I never really been fond of like that time period. You know what I mean? Like and like I don't know. I just kind of feel like it was a blah entry into the series. I feel like that there were a lot better entries.
I think that that's like the time period where I just think making two games at once was just a major. I know they had like two different teams on them, but just doing that is so like,
Counterproductive.
yeah,
Like
it's so
they
ignorant.
really could have made one great game with the whole team instead of two mediocre games.
Yeah. Yeah, completely. Um, my number 8 is Assassin's Creed Revelations.
Mm,
I
okay.
This game was really hard for me to rank because it is the final game in the installment of Ezio's time. It's the final game that we play as Ezio, and it's really hard for me to rank it and put it so low at number 8. It takes place during the Ottoman Civil War. It's a decent time period, but it just does not compete. And honestly, I think the way that Ezio went out is very like kind of sucks because Ezio probably is the best character we've had. Gameplay from this game, I don't think it revolutionized the game in any way. I really just failed to gravitate towards this game, especially after I was so hooked on another game.
Hmm.
And the unfortunate truth is that this game just kind of happened. And for it being the biggest like conclusion in the Assassin's Creed series, I mean, no other character has gotten this huge, like send off that Ezio got in like, 3 games.
Right.
It really just hurt. I was disappointed for whatever reason. I was let down. Don't think I finished the main story. And if I don't do that, then I'm definitely not hooked.
Right. Right. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, you can't really be hooked if you don't finish it.
Yeah.
So my number 8, I actually said Origins.
Okay.
I never really liked Assassin's Creed Origins. Like, there's a pattern here. I'm not really a fan of like the newer ones, and I don't know if that's just me or if it's because they are like straying so far away from the core of Assassin's Creed, like what it originally was.
Hmm.
I kind of think the time periods are really what's throwing me because, like, you know, you were going from like the 1400s and stuff. Now you're set in like 5 BC or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, way back
Like,
there.
there's nothing like cool technologically like that you could, say it for real. Like, in the old and some of the other ones set in the 1400s, you could have like a very early gun. You could have
Hmm.
a crossbow. That stuff didn't exist. So I don't know. I just kind of feel like it's pointless. And really, like the setting is cool, the Egypt setting, but I don't know. I just think it's way too far back for the time. Like I think it just doesn't make sense.
Right.
And I wasn't really much of a fan of it because I didn't play it much either. I mean, I had some time in it, but it wasn't enough to really like say like, hey, this game caught me.
Yeah. Well, I think I can speak more on your point because my number 7 is Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Um, different one, but this game took place in 400 BC. Way back there, and it was the first game that go into full RPG mode, which I think
Mhm.
it deserves some credit for that because I think that the RPG aspect will probably is what will keep Assassin's Creed alive in the future. Like it really got stale. I mean, looking at before Origins, you had like Unity and you had Syndicate. Like before going this different way, it was really looking rough. And so this game taking you this far back, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but I can see how it is a bad thing. Um, and I will say that, yeah, the characters basically became generic in that aspect. I do like the fact that you could play as someone different finally. I like that, but overall, again, it's the RPG thing is I'm in the middle on it. I'm not completely for it. I'm not completely against it, but I do understand why it happened. And I think the Spartan setting is kind of cool. I see why they did it because it's very unique and very different for the series, but it was a
Mhm.
very ambitious project, I'll say that, and sometimes too ambitious for its own good.
Right. All right. Well, that'll lead me to my number 7, which is actually Assassin's Creed 1.
Mm,
Assassin's Creed 1 really did like start laying the groundwork for everything.
yeah.
It's just my only problem with it is it's just not really like that memorable compared to some of the others I played. I mean, was it cool at the time? Yeah, it was cool because it really was like a new thing. But I don't know, man. Just compared to some of the later entries, it just really lacked. And that's not like it's the developers' fault, like it was the first one. They improved
Yeah.
on it as they went. And I also like I don't really like Altair, if I'm gonna be 100% honest. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
he's like the Grandmaster assassin, but I don't know. The Ezio, I believe, was a much better protagonist.
Yeah.
I mean, he got 3 games of his own, That shows how cemented he was.
Yeah, and honestly, they would have kept him if they could, but you're limited. Uh,
Yeah,
the time period is more important than the character
for
ultimately.
real.
Um, and so my number 6 is Unity. Um, I'm gonna be honest. Going through my list, I think most Assassin's Creed games are pretty mediocre or bad. Like
I agree actually with that.
they've only had a few. I don't know why I gave this series so many chances. Maybe because it's just because they're so good at aesthetic. They're so good at making you think that like
Oh
it's
yeah,
gonna be good. They're
the
so
settings.
good.
It doesn't matter what game it is, but the setting is actually always good.
Yeah.
Like Syndicate settings should have been good. Valhalla settings should have been good. Odyssey settings should have been good, but they just the execution is just lacking.
Yeah, Unity, the 4-player thing. I remember I was super excited for when it happened. I do think that Unity had a lot of customization that the other games did not, and I really think that was a lot of fun. Having so much customability in this game. Uh,
That's a new word.
yeah, I realized as I was saying it, customability. Nice. And at the end of the day, like being set in the Victorian era of London, London's really cool. London's super duper cool. I like that, but the game lacked story. And also, it was during that time that we've mentioned again where they created 2 games and they both hurt each other from existing.
hmm
So like, I mean, what more could you want?
Right, right. For my number 6, I actually said Assassin's Creed 2.
Ooh.
That's probably a little low, and honestly, for me, I just think that's because these 5 that are above it, I liked a lot more. I was a lot more dedicated. I played a lot more of them, and I personally just like them all better. A very recurring theme is one certain mode, not mode, but like one certain thing that you can do in 3 of them that's not prevalent in the others. And I'll touch on that once I hit the first one. But
Right.
I honestly just think Assassin's Creed 2 was a good game. I'll admit that, but honestly, again, compared to the other ones that I have above it, I just played them more. I was more into them. Yeah. So not a bad game, good game, just out of my top 5.
Yeah, makes I can kind of see that. It's not the best inclusion of Ezio for sure.
No, but it,
Um,
it did introduce us to him.
yeah, that is a really good point. Top five, and I will still say I don't think we're into the good. For me, yeah, I don't think we're into good for me yet. Number five is Black Flag for me. I
Oh,
don't think that pirates fit Assassin's Creed. I think that this is the this was just weird. This was so weird because like you had these games taking place in the American Revolution and you had, the Renaissance, Crusade, and then we're going right into the pirates. I mean, it's a choice. It's definitely I remember playing one of the first missions and you're like on an island and I thought it was just very strange. I like the main character. I like Edward Kenway. I think he was fun. A fun character for sure. One of the more interesting characters out of all of the characters ever. But I just felt like this game was lacking. But you did have like that like ship whole
mhm.
thing with the ships, which was really cool. Um
The Jackdaw, I remember. I think the name was.
yeah, it was definitely something very new for the series, and I do appreciate that they went somewhere completely different with this game, but it still wasn't for me.
That one's a little tough to swallow, but yeah, top 5 for me. Number 5 is Revelations. I genuinely enjoyed Revelations. I wasn't much of a fan of the setting, but it was still beautiful. Still a beautiful setting. I just wasn't much of a fan of it. Um, the main reason that I have Revelations so high is because of the fact that we still played as Ezio, and it was still fun. It kept the same principles from Brotherhood, but they added the defending, like the basically the tower defense again of the assassins headquarters, which was really
Hmm.
cool. You basically stood on the roof and you summoned your assassins to, and like you threw bombs and stuff at them and you had to defend it. It was actually really cool. I remember that was like one of my favorite parts of the whole game. But like you said, I think it was a mediocre end for Ezio's story. I mean, he definitely should have had a lot grander of a finale.
Yeah, definitely should have had a way better finale. Like, I don't know how they messed up the story that much, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah, they really did mess it up in the end, but whatever. I guess they can't keep him around forever, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Number four. This is where I think we start to get into the good tier, maybe even great. I have Assassin's Creed 3, The American
Um,
Revolution.
yeah, I got that in the same spot.
I do like that the family tree line of Edward to Hatham to Connor. I like that. I think that's a brilliant touch that like really never gets explored again.
Mhm.
Like they never do these chains, and I think taking place in the American Revolution is very fun. I think it's a, and I remember like the trailers and stuff coming out for this game beforehand, and it was just so hype. You had like this
Oh
huge
yeah.
war, and being able to take part in this time period that is so kind of close in a way. Um, you also got to play as the Native American Connor, which I thought was a lot of fun. You had two different characters here, and it's just for a game known as Assassin's Creed 3, you knew that it had to be something big.
Right.
And this game felt big, especially when it came out. The gameplay was a lot of fun. I remember being able to like explore 18th century Boston and New York City is just insane. And not many games have had such a big focus on indigenous people like this game and online too, dude. Like,
I remember we played online a lot, and it was always funny when you would play, what was it, Wanted or whatever it was,
mhm.
and they had the proximity mic, so when you got close, you would hear somebody start breathing or something, you start like shitting bricks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I this is actually the first game that touches on principle that I was talking about earlier, which is the sailing. I actually
Yeah,
really loved the sailing and the ship combat and all that. I thought it was phenomenal. Um, I'll touch on it a little bit more later on, but definitely a fantastic element to introduce. The whole time period was phenomenal. I actually really did enjoy the game a lot.
tons of fun in this game. I honestly think I even played I think I played multiplayer more than I played like main games. Fun.
Multiplayer was pretty fun
It was. It really was. So that's number 4 for us. I know our top 3 is going to be pretty different.
by far.
Which should be interesting. I'm going to go with number 3, and I'm going to go with Assassin's Creed 2. The game that I think truly started it all. Like, this is Assassin's Creed 1, basically. This is the game that started it all. Ezio, the introduction to his character is fantastic. And when you think of Assassin's Creed, the very first thing you think of is the Italian Renaissance time period. You think of 14th century to 17th century Italy. And I just remember running off this is the game that I think really inspired and really pushed the parkour aspect of Assassin's Creed far. And something that kind of bit me about this game was how much time you spent in the real world. I think that kind of like was a little
Yeah,
annoying.
that's the one thing I haven't liked about the Assassin's Creed games is
Yeah.
they literally put you in the real world and you like they know you don't want to do that shit. I don't know how
Yeah.
many of us actually care about, Desmond or any of them, but I don't know. I think that's pointless.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit about the Animus?
Exactly. Exactly. Like nobody cared about that. That's another misstep with these games, but for the most part, I mean, Ezio just became such a charismatic character. He's the only character that, well, there's a few, but he's really the main one who took over and became a life of its own. And this is the game that started it all. I really like Assassin's Creed 2. You had a lot of cool battles in this game, and it
Right.
started it all.
For my number 3, I actually said Assassin's Creed Rogue. Um,
Wow.
I honestly think that they did a lot better of a job with Rogue than Unity. And I actually really like the story of playing as an assassin who turns to a Templar. It was a pretty neat twist, and it was actually pretty cool. Like you are basically assassinating assassins,
Mm-hmm.
and it's cool because it's set around the same time as Assassin's Creed 3 as well. Not like exactly the same, but like and I think you interact with Hatham. You're at the one guy's house where Connor trains
Mm-hmm.
in Assassin's Creed 3 before I think it's before Connor comes around. But yeah, it was just cool. And again, another game that had the sailing aspect, and I just really did enjoy it. And I thought it was a really fun Assassin's Creed.
Wow. Okay. A complete
I mean,
differing
that
opinion there.
personally, I think it's just my personal what is it called? I think it's just my personal opinion on it. And honestly, I'm happy that they ended up remastering it
Yeah. I think they have remastered almost every one at this point.
for the
Like,
most part.
yeah, they've really, for whatever reason, I get why they do it, but yeah, they keep remastering them all. Okay, so number 2, top 2. I have a hot take. My number 2 is Assassin's Creed Brotherhood.
That's your number 2.
By far my number 2. By far,
Oh.
miles and days. I was a baby when Brotherhood came out. I was like 10 years old, and I didn't play it for a long time at first. I watched a playthrough on YouTube, and I really love this game. I love the playthrough on YouTube that I watched, and then I got it myself, and then I played it, and the multiplayer was so much fun. I mean, I still remember the cover. I remember the Plague Doctor. I remember all these characters.
Hmm.
And it's Ezio, man, in Rome, in Italy, in these really cool areas. A big part about Assassin's Creed is we've talked about it, the setting. And this game had the setting basically continuing from Assassin's Creed 2. And it was so beautiful. And I mean, the gameplay was fantastic. When you think of Assassin, you think of the Brotherhood getup, the white coat with the red. You pretty much think of this version of the Assassin. You have Ezio, who's a bit older now, and it's just beautiful. We'll probably talk more about this game, uh, in a few, but That is my number two.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna definitely talk about that one more, just not right now. Um, my number two was actually Black Flag.
Okay.
I honestly, if it wasn't for one other game that I sunk a lot of time into, Black Flag would be number one. Um, Black Flag was very, very fun. I loved the sea combat. I loved being the pirate. I loved the setting. I personally just like pirates.
Mm-hmm.
So this game was like pretty cool to do. And I think another aspect I really like about the game is commanding the naval fleets. Like you would,
Right.
you board the ships and you take them and you can, basically set them up as your own ships and send them out to do missions and stuff like that. And I just thought it was a cool little thing to do. Customizing the ship was cool, exploring was cool. There was so much to explore though, and it was so ridiculous how much there was to explore, but it was pretty neat to be able to go onto small islands and basically just go wherever you wanted.
Yeah. Black Flag definitely was a very unique game, especially before like all these other games came into like, Valhalla and
Oh
Odyssey,
yeah.
where they took you to weird places. This was the first one that really tried the weird place.
Yeah, it basically like you explored everywhere. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
like you were just set to one area,
Yeah, that's true.
You
Yeah.
weren't just like stuck in Rome, you went from island to island to town.
Yeah.
And it was cool. And you could capture like the forts and the legendary ships and all that shit. Pretty neat game. Really loved it.
There's been a few good ones, for sure, of Assassin's Creed games. Now, my number one, and I had to pick it because it's the only Assassin's Creed game that I did everything there was to do, and for whatever reason, I spent countless hours in this game. It's Assassin's Creed Origins,
Gross.
the 2017 masterpiece of a game, the game that saved a dying series, a game that is the only reason why Assassin's Creed still releases games today. It was the first game that changed the direction, a direction that Ethan does not like. But it changed directions forever. And hey, I mean, we talk about Black Flag. This game is the only one with Black Flag that lets you do underwater exploration. I mean, come on, they're basically the same game then. Um, no, but being able to explore Egypt was fucking beautiful, man. There's no setting better than this game's Egypt. You talk about Odyssey's graphics regressing. Yeah, I could totally see that. This game had perfect graphics for the time. Being able to also, you had the like pets, that's the companion that would fly around and it would give you like an eagle's eye view. That was really cool. And being Bayak, the main character of this game, I love this guy. Probably one of my favorite two main characters in the series. Sucked that there was no multiplayer. I will say that's like the worst part about these new games. But I just had so much fun playing this game, and I know that it was set in a like really ancient time, but I did enjoy it. And it's my favorite, and I loved his wife Aya. I loved him. I think they were great. Going back to the BC time, I liked it. I liked the cities as well. They were a lot of fun, and it's my favorite Assassin's Creed. It was bold, and for whatever reason, I liked it.
I don't know. I don't really agree with that, but that's personal. That's me. My number one, if it's not obvious, is Brotherhood.
Hmm.
Um, I love Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. I love the setting. I love the characters, and honestly, I thought it was just perfect. I like the idea of running around, fixing up the city, buying the landmarks. I loved all the weapons. The hidden gun was cool.
Right? Yeah.
The multiplayer was also pretty neat. I remember like some of the characters. There was the plague doctor, the blacksmith, just a bunch of shit like that. And it was pretty cool. The multiplayer was fun as hell. I think this was the first one that had multiplayer, and it was great. It was honestly fantastic, and the story setting was beautiful. Rome, getting to explore all the ancient, buildings and everything. Uh, the Borgias, you had to basically kill them off and shit. Very fun game.
Bourgeoisie. Yeah.
Loved it. Um, it was actually pretty cool because they really did stick to like the actual like the way the room actually looks. I actually ended up going there on vacation a couple years ago, and like I saw the main building where the Borges were that you had to climb up in the game, and it looked exactly like the game. I mean, it was kind of nuts. Like it was literally like window for window. The only thing they added were like little ledges to climb on, and that's it. So the amount of detail that went into the city of Rome and like the outskirts was beautiful.
Yeah.
I
Brotherhood.
just personally think Brotherhood was the best one in the series.
I
And
think.
the music too. I can't even, the
Yeah,
music
that's true.
was also very perfect for the game.
I love the Plague Doctor online.
Oh yeah.
The Plague Doctor is
Oh,
such
dude,
a
I'll tell
cool
you what too.
character.
The I actually ended up getting the I have bought two or actually three versions of Brotherhood because the first version was the one I played. Then the second I bought the Plague Doctor Jack in the Box. That was like a special edition.
Hmm.
And then I ended up buying the Harlequin um,
Okay, right.
Jack in the Box because that again was a special edition because he was the green and blue guy that
Yeah,
you could play as a multiplayer, and he was pretty sweet.
yeah. I I never played Origin or Brotherhood again after I was 10.
Mhm.
So that probably tells you why I put it where I did, and it's because
Well, that's
it's
understandable because it wasn't your time for it, you know.
yeah, yeah, that's true. That's basically how it is. I was too young. That's why, like these memories are very lost on me. The 2010 games.
Right.
That is our list. Let us know what you guys think, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you guys for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe.